Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I had a sudden urge and inspiration to make this video. I've been kind of browsing some content recently concerning development on multiple fronts. One is economic development, how to grow a business, economic mindsets, it's personal financial management, educational development, how to learn and grow and expand the mind, of course, spiritual development, psychological development and healing, physical development and exercise, social development, building relationships, building a social life. And then, really just now, about a minute ago, I came back to a series of videos I made last summer, an introduction to the science of the soul. And this is something which I have said before many times, and which I will say many, many more times again, but which I shall here repeat one more time. I think we all suffer the same nausea of modernity, where life has become so complex, it has become so difficult. Competition is higher than it has ever been on all fronts. We literally feel as if we are being crushed from all angles. People are suffering in every way there is to suffer. Some people are suffering in multiple ways at the same time. And though we perhaps have an abundance of educational content, even on YouTube, there is more educational content of a higher quality and caliber than there has ever been before. Not just that, but perhaps for the first time, there is content which is actually grounded in real truths. For the first time, there is spiritual content really grounded in spiritual truths. And I think there are some people, at least, who do speak from a pure place, who speak from a true place of knowledge. We see that in all the fields. There are all types of coaches nowadays, and consultants, and gurus, and professors. There's lots of content out there. So I think our issue now in modernity, and this is amplified even more given, Chat GPT and AI and whatever's going to happen over the next few years, our issue is no longer a lack of content. No one can complain. No one can complain that they suffer an inability to act or an inability to change for lack of knowledge. That I just don't know where to begin. That is a clear lie. We all know where to begin. We live in an age where a simple Google search, a simple search on YouTube will pretty quickly get you to pretty high quality content, which perhaps is not the end path. It rarely ever is. The end requires work, requires a journey to get to, but it is a beginning. So to simply say that I don't know where to begin, I think it is simply no longer a valid option, if ever it was. And I do think that there never was a time we were bereft of knowledge. But perhaps one could say that it was harder to begin. It was harder to find that first step. But no more. Our issue now is not the fact that we are suffering on multiple fronts and we don't know where to begin, we don't know what to do. The issue is that we know too much. There are so many voices out there. Really, there are too many voices. There are too many programs, too many ideas and visions and theories. There are too many dimensions of life, dimensions of our existence, too many to work on. Because if we say, and this is the most common method and really the most common fallacy, and we know that experientially. We say that first, the most pressing issue is economic. That I'm working so much that I simply do not have the space or the time or the energy to think, to act, to contemplate higher realities and higher things. So first, I will focus on money and becoming financially independent, or at least gaining a sense of financial stability and freedom before I can begin to work on the other things. I think this is the most common fallacy. And of course, most people probably will never achieve whatever this dream of financial independence is, whatever this dream is of no longer needing to worry about money. I mean, human life is worry. Life on earth is worry. Life is unstable. In its intrinsic nature, the body is unstable, health is unstable. No matter what we do, it is ultimately out of our hands. So the idea that there is some state we can achieve, some condition we can augment and create, in which we no longer worry, we know that does not exist. And so we should know that this path is wrong from the outset. Life is worry, life is struggle. So that cannot be the path. Moreover, yes, it makes sense that I need room to think, so I need to take the weight, the most pressing physical, psychological weight. I just need to ease that a bit before I can truly think deeply. Again, the same fallacy, because there shall always be a weight on our shoulders. If we have a new experience, a new knowledge, a new life, it just brings new responsibilities. So the idea that, again, there is some life we can live without weight on our shoulders is a fallacy. And secondly, well, making money is not easy. And the whole idea of making money in a genuine sense is about giving meaning, giving value, creating wealth. If you want to make money, you have to give wealth, give something in exchange for it, give something valuable. The whole idea that there's an idea of the competitive paradigm and the creative paradigm. Competing against others for the same thing will not work. That's the life we are already living, competing against one another in the system. The system is competition. The system is constriction. Human life, when it organizes itself into the polis, into the city, is pressing by its very nature, like a galaxy or the formation of stars. It's the compression of a galactic cloud circling into a central singularity of mass. That intensity is created by collective pressure, pushing, I would say, against itself, but it is itself. It's all of us pushing against each other to create a central focus of energy. But the thing about center of mass, I mean, I might ask this question. What is the center of mass of our solar system? Of course, the easiest thing to say is that it's the sun. It's the center of the sun. But yes, the sun is the heaviest thing, but the center of mass is the average of all mass in the solar system. So it's not the center of the sun, it's the average of everything, which I'm actually not sure if it even is in the sun. It might be just barely, or probably just a bit off the sun. And usually the center of mass of some system is an abstract concept which exists in none of them. They say beauty is averageness. The most beautiful face is the face which is the most average, because average is proportional and symmetric. So if we take the average of many people, we get a more and more beautiful form. So you have a circle. The center of that circle is perfection. But that center is none of the points on the circumference. This perfect human being, the ideal form, is none of us. It's all of us and therefore none of us. That society, we are competing. And again, I'm not going to say we should not compete with one another. It's life on earth. Of course we compete. We have to. We have no choice. But the thing for which we are competing, and make no mistake about this, this perfect life we all aspire to, it's none of our lives. It cannot be. It's the center. The center is none of us. It's a mystical point which exists nowhere, but therefore everywhere. We all partake somehow in this perfect life, an ideal form, by working towards it. But the tragedy of life, and it's a necessary tragedy, is that we will never achieve it. And now, coming back to what I was saying, the idea of I need to make money, I need space, I need economic space, physical space, I need my own place to live, I need to be able to build my own life with comfort before I can think deeply and truly plan my life out. Well, to generate wealth, to be creative, and that's what I'm saying, the competition is there, but to truly build and create and innovate is creation. Creation, that thing which will truly bring wealth and happiness in a meaningful sense, requires you to attain to your particular innate self-realization. For you to create is to give from yourself that which is yours to give, which is no one else's. When you attain to your perfection, you will give from yourself, whatever that means. Your music, the music of your soul, you shall sing forth. Speak forth the poetry of your mind, the artifact of your hand, the nerves of your body, your muscles to align in vigorous passion, in the sheer force of beautiful display in athletics or sport. Whatever craft you work, whatever ideas you ideate, to fulgurate with such luminous and galvanating, pristine clarity. That particular self-realization requires the space. If you want money, and this is the best, really the only way to actually make money, is to be creative. But creativity is something spiritual, which comes at the peak of self-actualization. If we remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, once we fulfill the basic needs, all the way at the top, we get to self-realization, and perhaps actually it's time to bring up the whiteboard. I mean, Maslow's hierarchy tells us that at the base we have foundations of our basic needs. In fact, let's just simplify this. Let's maybe have like that. These basic needs are the economic. For us in our modern lifestyles, if we have money, we fulfill all of these. Food, house, comfort, travel, let's say. If we have sufficient money, we can build a comfortable lifestyle, a comfortable foundation. Will it make us happy? Absolutely not. You can have, you can live all alone in a mansion, and in fact, I think you're going to be more depressed than ever because it's just the foundation. Yes, we fulfill this, but really it's the more, I mean, let's say happiness is here. On top of this, we have the foundations of those things which will make us meaningful and happy. That is relationships, society, things which money cannot buy, but which arguably we need money to actually maintain and possibly get. Even your particular passion, your creative hobby and pursuit. I might put travel again here in a more meaningful capacity. Finding yourself, exploring yourself, um, having not just a job but a career, having a work, an occupation, a calling, and pursuing these things. We have, what shall we call these? Perhaps the higher needs, where meaning and happiness is truly going to be found. And having that, we move up the hierarchy. Let's make it a nice purple color. And then we move into the spiritual. That's what Maslow calls self-actualization, which I made a video about this previously, and I prefer to call it realization, spiritual realization, self or realizing the true self, which is to know thyself. And it's in this spiritual flourishing and development, in this spiritual apotheosis and consummation and completion and perfection, that we activate that truly creative and divine spirit. And again, we might use two words of genius. And I mean that in the romantic sense, that every human being has an innate genius inside of them. That spirit of God which lives inside of us, with which to commune is to create, because to be in the image of the Creator is to be a creator oneself, to create by that divine inspiration and guidance. It's in completing ourselves in all these dimensions, the physical, the mental, the social, the economic. Putting all that together, we get the spiritual. And there your creative natural genius flourishes. Your perfect life, heaven on earth. And that's where, if you want money, money would come from. This is the easiest path to making money. If you don't want to cut and steal and cheat, you don't want to do something which you absolutely hate and slave your life away for it, getting money and you're too old to even do anything with that money. If you want to actually make money organically and naturally, and with happiness, and have wholesome money, not just money, but wealth, which we can actually live with. This is the easiest, and I would argue really the only way to do it. But now, big paradox. We said we needed the money before we can be spiritual. But we need to be spiritual before we get the money. We needed to sort out these foundations of life before we could focus on the truly transcendental, because it is hard to think when we are being crushed by the circumstances of life. But life is not going to let up, and the world is not going to stop spinning, and the system of society is not going to stop strangling us in our mutual competition. And the sling of tragedies and misfortunes and sufferings are not going to stop firing against us. So the whole idea of just sorting these foundations out before we move on to the truly spiritual, before we truly can sit down with ourselves and question what we are truly doing on earth, and what this chaotic maze of life actually means, and what we should actually do with this small, limited number of days on earth which we have before us, the finite number of breaths which we have, which are finite. We breathe, but we are not conscious that it's not going to go on forever. The amount of breaths that we will breathe are limited, and every breath we give away is a breath which will never, ever come back to us. And it is a moment of consciousness which is lost forever. And so there is no time. We don't have the time before we start to think. It has to be now. If ever, it has to be now. If not now, then when? What other time is there than the present? In fact, I invite the listener to this video, because I also am listening, to perhaps take, let's say, just 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes here with me, spending time in some silence and spending time with our breath and each thought. Together, let's just spend the next couple of minutes truly conscious that what we have here and now is not forever. It's just the now. And it is precious. It's a priceless treasure. It's a pearl of great price. That the dream we have, if it's ever going to come true, it has to come true now. Not then in the future, now. Not there, here. It has to be now, because if not now, never shall it be. And perhaps now, in this self-silence, we are trapped on this path towards the soul, towards a heaven and perfection and the dream we all dream in our minds. We cannot ever get there unless we already are here now. It's not a triangle, it's a circle. And it's not a hierarchy, it's an explosion. It's not working up to that end, it's beginning with it, beginning in the center of the self. Beginning with the spirits, with these breaths, in the mystery of the moment. And working outwards from there. All these dimensions are like spheres, but all of it rotates around the central points, the heart, like an engine. You have cogs and cogs and cogs, and moving parts inside of moving parts. It's only in the end the tires moving and the car moving forward. It's only in the end you have the body moving and acting and speaking and interacting amidst society, being with others, building these places, experiences, ideas, relationships. But it all begins with that center, the spirit, the eternal man, the breath of God. And so that's the path. It's not to begin with these foundations and work towards spiritual realization. We need the spiritual realization now. We need this first. We need to drink this holy elixir, taste something of the water of life, the wine of God, become drunken in this ecstatic frenzy of spiritual union. Taste the ecstasy of Godhood. Become actualized, spiritually realized, self-transcendent and complete, at least in the heart. Even if the body suffers and the mind suffers and every dimension of life is completely corrupt and broken, even if our life It's not working as we want it to on any level. But there's one thing inside of you called the spirit, which only you have access to. And it's small, it's infinitely small. It's not the mind, it's much, much smaller than the mind. Maybe you might say it's not much. Might never have the body I want, the house I want, the job I want, the relationship I want. And maybe you never will. And you won't be the first person, neither the last. But there's something at least. There's a part of you where you can have that thing which you want. Inside of the spirit. So begin with that. Begin with this special center. Begin with this spiritual realization. Become one. Maybe just in this moment here. Perhaps just in this few breaths we took together. Taste, drink something of peace, solitude, spiritual communion in the heart of the heart of the heart of mystery, where that childlike wonder of life still sings and dances, where still we taste something of that primordial innocence and platonic nostalgia and transcendental yearning for something so far beyond the world we live in now. In the soft of the dark of the mind, we can still feel the touch of God, the coldness of his finger between our sides. We can still hear the whisper of his breath. We can still feel the blast of his holy light sounding in this august dark silence of the soul. But here's the second mystery. If the first was utterly pessimistic, that we are trapped in the system, which we are, there's a second that, if you get this, what if we can actually taste this? We begin with the center, but then suddenly we tap into the creative and divine energies, and we hear the music of the soul, and we dance according to the rhythm of the heavenly spheres, and we become that soft silence in the heart turns and turns the wheels of the self and all the dimensions of life, and slowly that mystery permeates, and suddenly this self-actualization bleeds through and creates the happiness. Out of nothing, for no reason whatsoever, we wake up one day, we are happy. When all the odds and circumstances of life are against us, but we feel happy. We feel joy. We feel bliss. We see and feel and are one with the beauty. And out of nowhere, in the bleak grind of a capitalist job, slave to a system, we find a calling. It may not be everything we wanted or wished for, but it's something, and there's something meaningful you can work in. And we find something of passion, and the magic of life is real. And you can travel, find those people, find that person, find something. It's probably never exactly the thing you wanted, but that's life. But it's something meaningful. And I think that's the idea of a gift from God. The idea of God giving is that it's never what we wanted, but it's what God wanted and what God gives. And ultimately, we'll find all these things. if we begin there, we will find happiness. We might have to let go of the vision we had of being happy, but there's something there. And we probably won't become financially independent millionaires, as all these financial gurus keep promising us. We'll probably never have financial independence. I mean, who does, really? I don't think anyone's financially independent. But this creative drive will lead to something, and it will improve. It will improve our economic prospects. It will lead to good things. It will give us wealth. More than money, it will give us wealth. And that's how to break the trap. That's how to break the wheel and break the cycle. You have to break it because it's going to break you if you do not break it. And it is ruthless. And society does not care about us at all. And we can die and die in the million, and the world will still go on because it's happened in the past. So do not put your trust in anyone or anything, but put your trust in God, because only God can touch this infinite center of being, which is the spirit. And if nowhere else, at least there, we will find the kingdom of God and be in paradise with him. But then, having known that truly, perhaps we can do his will on earth, even as it is done in heaven, and therefore find something of heaven in this short but potentially wonderful worldly life.